would encourage you to do as we get ready for this election coming up on Tuesday. First of all, please be in prayer. First and foremost, that's why we started there today. Be in prayer, pray now, keep praying. Oftentimes, and I can be guilty of this sometimes, we have the habit of praying until something happens, and then we stop praying sometimes, don't we? I hope I'm not the only one, but sometimes that happens. And here's what we need to understand, is that don't just pray up until the election, okay? Don't just pray until Tuesday. Don't just pray that the person you want to win wins. Don't just pray that way. Pray leading up to Tuesday, and keep praying after Tuesday. And keep praying for our country after Tuesday. And pray for them on Wednesday and Thursday and all the way through. And keep praying for them, because Scripture actually commands us to be obedient to our authorities, to our government. And Scripture gives us some pretty clear commands on what we ought to be doing. So, your first job is to pray. Again, please vote on Tuesday. In this election, it might be hard for you to figure out how to vote. Here's the best thing I can say to you on that. The best thing I can say to you on that is do your very best to try to vote for someone who will attempt to bring the values that match Scripture into our government. I mean, as Christians, that's what we ought to be trying to base our candidacy on, and who we're going to vote for. Now, it's hard, this election, isn't it? I mean, it is hard to make those choices. And that's something that I would encourage you to pray about and let God direct you on who you're going to vote for. Depending on how much you know about politics, there's all kinds of options. There's a crazy option of a way, I've been told, that a third-party candidate could actually win the election if he wins certain states and splits the electoral votes. I mean, there are so many different things that could happen. But I would just say to you, be in prayer. And as you're in prayer, vote as God leads you to vote. Vote as God leads you to vote. And do your best to be aware of what these people's views are, and if they match with the faith that we profess. And then do your best to vote as the Lord is leading you to vote. But please keep all of this in mind as well, that regardless of the outcome of the election on Tuesday, we as believers have a call to submit to the authority of our government out of respect for God. Okay? So we must be prepared regardless of what happens on Tuesday. Regardless of who we find out as the winner, we must be prepared to still maintain a Christ-like attitude after the election as well. We must be prepared to do that. Romans chapter 13 tells us the following. This is Romans 13, beginning in verse 1. And here's what we read there. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. Now, I want to stop there for a minute, and I want to look at this, and I have a better understanding of why we need to be careful of how we're going to respond after the vote takes place. I know that for me, I can get a little bit emotional about the election. And when the election's over, I can get a little bit emotional about how it turned out. You know, I'm not out in the streets protesting or banging pots and pans or anything, but in my house, I'm going, all right, Lord, well, what do you have for us now? You know, so I can respond a little bit emotionally sometimes, but here's what we have to remember and understand. First of all, we have to understand that no matter what happens, guys, we still have to be law-abiding, citizens. Like, we don't have permission, no matter what happens, to go out and start breaking laws and acting wild and being crazy to try to prove a point. We see there in that scripture in Romans that authority was established by God. Okay? And so if we're going to rebel against the government, then in essence we're rebelling against God, who set up this system that we have in the first place. And so we can't go out and start acting in a manner that is completely inappropriate to what God would call us to do. We need to be remaining in good standing and in good conscience. So whatever happens in the election, whatever you would want maybe your reaction to be, take a back seat to what God tells us to do. And respond as He would call us to respond. Because here's another thing that we see, and this is in 1 Peter. So if you want to turn to 1 Peter with me, we'll go on to 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2, beginning in verse 13. And here is what we see there. Submit yourself for the Lord's sake to every authority instituted among men, whether to the king as the supreme authority, or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish men. Live as free men, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as servants of God. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the brotherhood of believers. Fear God. Honor the king. So I love that verse where it says to us, for it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish men. Have any of you ever heard the argument before that people don't come to church because they're all a bunch of hypocrites? Anybody ever heard that argument before, right? I mean, I've heard it a million times. One of my favorite responses to it, and if someone from in this church had told me this whenever I first got here, one of my favorite responses is, yeah, we're full of hypocrites and we have room for one more. Come on. Because listen, we're all struggling and wrestling and going through all of this, okay? And one of the things that happens is that when we as Christians will say something like, oh, well, we need to love our brother or sister. And then in the next moment, we have a thought or let a thought slip out of our mind and go, but I can't tolerate if so-and-so gets in office. Or, man, if so-and-so gets in office, it's going to be the worst thing on the planet. Well, I really hope something bad happens to so-and-so. That's not very Christ-like, is it? It's not very Christ-like. So if we're going to claim something as believers, if we're going to claim that we believe something, then we should act on it. Then we should do what it is that we say. If we are called in Scripture, which we are, to pray for our enemies, okay, and you are a staunch Republican, and a Democrat gets in, or you are a staunch Democrat and a Republican gets in, well, pray for them too. Don't stop. Don't not pray, because that goes against Scripture. And what we find in Scripture is that if we are doing what we should as believers, okay, and somebody tries to walk by and say, for example, well, that Pastor Tim, he is such a nasty person. He is horrible. I mean, you can't even listen to him talk. He is so mean. If you're doing things right and you're living out your faith right, the second somebody accuses you of that, there should be a group of other people who know you that go, who are you talking about? Because that's not the Pastor Tim I know. That's not who he is. That's not him at all. And then that person who's accusing and throwing daggers and throwing knives is going to look foolish, the Scripture says, right? They're going to look foolish because they're trying to say something that's not true. So as believers, whatever happens on Tuesday, if you claim to follow Christ and you claim to love Christ, then please act in accordance with what Christ calls you to do, regardless of the outcome on Tuesday. Regardless of that outcome. Titus talks to us in the book of Titus in chapter 2. Get to the end of the New Testament and all these books just kind of start to blend together a little bit here. Titus chapter 2, beginning in verse 7, tells us this. It says, in everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. You want to know one of the reasons that I stand up here and preach from such a place of transparency? It's because I know I'm not perfect, okay? I realize I have struggles and issues just like everybody else. And here's what I have found. That when I stand up here and preach from that perspective of transparency and that perspective of weakness, and I preach from that place and I say I don't have it all figured out and I'm working on it just like you guys are, and I'm moving forward on it and I'm trying to follow God in everything that I do, it gives me accountability with you guys. It gives me accountability with people outside of the church who have thought for so long that the church is full of a bunch of hypocrites who have all the answers and they're not going to listen and they don't want to talk to anyone. When I stand and talk to someone that I've never met and they have no idea I'm a pastor, do you know that's the greatest compliment I get from people? I love that. I love when I'm talking to someone and they go, I would have never guessed you were a pastor. I'm glad. Because I want people to be real with me. I want people to interact with me. I want people to talk to me. I want them to think I'm a normal human being. I want them to think that I'm on this journey with them. And if I'm acting in a way that is humble, and if I'm acting in a way that is saying I don't have every answer, and even if I do, I don't always act on it the way I should, we have accountability. We have a mutual respect for one another and a mutual accountability. And then, if somebody wants to say something bad about me, or say something bad about my character, or attack me, then those people I've interacted with in a very real way are able to look and say, no, that's not him at all. That's not who he is at all. I know him in this way, and I know him, and I know this to be true in this way about him. We have to pay attention to our character. We have to pay attention to how we're interacting with people. We have to make sure that we are following what God calls us to do. And now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, because I've just said to you that we need to obey authority, right? We need to obey the law. We need to do the things God calls us to do. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, because Scripture also tells us in the book of Acts, on multiple occasions, that we also need to make sure, when we face these situations, we need to make sure that if we should be obeying God first, then we do that. We submit to our authority. We submit to our government. We absolutely are law-abiding citizens. But if we are told to do something in direct violation to what Scripture commands or what God commands, then we need to honor God in our decisions first. Okay? I'll give you an example of it here at the Free Methodist Church. This has come directly from our bishops. It has come out in a letter specifically to us as a church. I don't know if every state has done it, but many states have already legalized same-sex marriage now, right? And our conference, our denomination came down and said that that is not something we are permitted to do in the Free Methodist Church. We believe that it goes against God's design. We believe that marriage is to be between a man and a woman. And we are supposed to love everyone, but I am not permitted to perform a wedding in this church for a same-sex couple. I'm not permitted to do it. Now, there could come a time at some point where that comes in conflict with government, isn't there? There could come a point that your dear Pastor Tim may end up in jail because I say no to that. And I snicker about that, but it could come to that at some point. It could come to that, where the government might try to say, you have to do this. And I have to stand like the apostles did in Acts and say, we have to decide whether it's better to serve God or to serve man. And I don't want it to come to that. You think I want to go to jail? Please. I'm a pretty boy. I'm going to do well in jail, all right? I'm not going to do well there. I don't want to go to prison. I mean, that's just the reality of it, okay? I'm going to be out on the basketball court making friends instantly. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out there in the yard and just make friends on the court, man, because that's... Sorry, I digress very easily. You guys get the point, don't you? Like, there's going to come a time where we might have to look at a situation and say, I have to obey God in this. And we do it lovingly. And we do it with the utmost respect that we possibly can. Okay? I don't agree with people, that stand up for their faith but make a huge spectacle out of it. I don't think that we have to, refuse things to people in a very public and nasty way. I don't think that that's necessarily showing love. I think we can lovingly and gently state our differences and in a loving manner make someone aware. And I think we can do that in a very positive way. But we have to know that at some point we might have to step up. And we might have to agree that we're going to obey God before we're going to obey man. And that is where I would say to you that we as believers need to be in prayer on a regular basis. Because we need to know where those situations are. We need to know when those may come up. And we need to be in prayer for those things. So, as you're getting ready to go out of the vote, be in prayer about it. But don't think that it ends just because the vote's done. Don't think that just because January rolls around and our next president comes into office that your job as a believer is done. Don't think that you have to wait another 4 years to try to make a difference. Don't think that you have to wait, another 4 years for things to be different, because it's not true. You can make an effort to make a difference now. Living out your Christian values, living out your faith as we're called to do in Scripture, regardless of who ends up in office. So I encourage you not to get hung up on it. If you wake up Wednesday morning and the candidate you wanted to win didn't win, don't forget that God reigns and that God's in charge. And in the end, God wins, guys. And everything else that happens from now until the time we get to that end where He comes back and returns might not be the most fun in the world, but our reward as believers is in eternity with Him. And then none of this is going to matter anymore. None of this is going to matter anymore. I pray that you will do your role, that you will vote, that you will participate in the election, and I pray that you will not stop praying and keep looking for ways that as believers, we can influence this world for Christ still, regardless of who is in office. Regardless of who is in office. Would you pray with me? God in heaven, I first want to thank you as well for the freedom to stand here and speak, Lord. And Lord, I know that in so many situations, certain Christians have received a really bad name for things that have happened and things that have been done and the way things have been done, God. And Father, I pray that as a church, we will make it our goal to love you, to love people, and to find ways that we can lovingly and gently teach your truth to the people around us. God, I think of the woman in Scripture who was caught in adultery, and she was brought out by the Pharisees, and she was humiliated publicly and dragged out in front of Jesus. And they instantly started shouting out her sins and calling to Jesus and saying what she had done and saying, this woman was caught in adultery and the law says that we should stone her. And they say to Jesus, what should we do? I love his initial response is to ignore them. He kneels down and he writes in the sand. And then as they continue to push and pressure him and say, what do we do to them? What do we do to her? The law says stone her. What do you say? And he stands up and he silences them with his words and he says, whichever one of you has never sinned, you can be the one to throw the first stone. And they drop the stones and they walk away. And then Jesus speaks to the woman and says, leave your life of sin. He doesn't keep the truth from her. He doesn't stop himself from sharing the truth. But he does it in a humane way. And he does it in a way that respects her as a human being, first and foremost. Lord, we must work to make that our goal. That we will lovingly interact with the people around us. And that as you open doors, we will gently relay the truth of Scripture to them. And I pray that we will be that influence around the world. I pray that we will be an influence to those around us for your purposes, God. Father, I pray that as a church, we will be that difference. So that those who don't know you yet, Lord, will come into a relationship with you. That those who have been so turned off and hurt by the church and hurt by other believers will recognize that there is a place they can come that is safe and where they will be loved. But God, they will not be left where they are. And if we really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, every one of us is on that journey. Pursuing you and not being given permission to be left where we are, God. So help us to respond this week and in the next months in a way that would be pleasing to you, Lord. And Father, as we prepare to leave this place in just a few moments, I pray that we are making the effort even now to have our hearts cleansed and that we are repenting of any sinfulness that has been present, God. And that our hearts will be right with you before we walk out these doors today, Father. So that we can live according to the plan and purpose that you have for our lives. And not be dictated by our own selfish desires or our own selfish wants. But instead we will be dictated and directed by what you have for us, Lord. Father, prepare our hearts even now for this time of communion that is coming, Lord. Let our hearts be seeking you so that as we do take together, our hearts will be pure, Lord. Pray this in Jesus' name now. Amen. I'm going to invite Pastor Marianne to come, and she is going to lead us into a time of communion, and I send the invitation to you, and